please take your seats. You have the microphones there. So I'm really looking forward to that one. And Jean-Pierre, a few things. You mentioned Sephora, right? It's so popular, only for girls 18 and older. My daughter is 12, and she loves Sephora. So, and I know there's some big discussion going on because Sephora is attracting to all these, really young teenagers, and the brands are, spending money on them. And officially, you shouldn't do that. That's it's a big issue. Jean-Pierre, you talk so much about pharmacies, and Andy, you're supplying your solution also to pharmacies in Switzerland. So you're in a similar case. I see more and more pharmacies now investing into dispensing robots, and they also have touch screens. Yeah. Do you see that as a competition, or do you say, oh, thank you, do you see it as a benefit, so you don't have to invest in hardware, and it's
So it's a very good example actually, because we have one company who start to install robot and screen in Belgium in 2017, and then we did a partnership with them, and the result now is that all the pharmacists are taking down the screen. And they ask us to replace with our players, and they say we don't use it. It was just a way for this company to implement a screen, but there is no content behind. There is no strategy. So at the end, the pharmacist pay us to put our player in the screen and put advertising on it. So unfortunately, I think the idea is good, but it's not efficient. The pharmacists don't like it. The market don't like it. So if there is any of this player here, stop doing it because you're losing your money, guys.
I think Rova and the other guys see that a little bit different, but it's a different story.
No, I think it's cool because they pay the installations and everything, and it's easier for us. So it's we're having exactly the same problems in Switzerland where we're based, and the robots are a cool idea for technology-wise, for medications, so you need big stock place. But the problem is, most of the time the screens are not really working, and the people want to know what kind of product they have. At the end, they just have the product pack shots on it. So why you put a lot of energy, power, consummation, topic green signage for nothing? And we use it for advertising or paid advertising or trade marketing money, like you said. But you cannot do that on robot screens. And they're not open. They don't want to open it up for anybody else. So it's just our system.
Yeah. Andreas, you are back with visual art. That's good to hear. But you have been, with visual art for many, many years, and you helped building up the big ICA retail media network. At that time, nobody called it retail media, but it's probably one of the biggest networks in Sweden and Scandinavia. So, I mean, how long is it? 15 years, or when did you start? 12 years, or when?
Yeah, 12 years started with, but most, as you heard before, it's most for trade spending back then. But it's been a huge success for ICA and also for them to get those revenue, which will have a huge effect on their P&L, while enhancing the customer experience, also giving them the opportunity to actually, inspire to even higher spending in the stores.
Andreas, I want to ask a little bit because you have seen the past 12 years. Yep. So how has changed the business model? How has changed the demand from a supermarket perspective in the past 12 years? When you started, I think the great thing about ICA was always they had a huge loyalty card program. They're the biggest grocery chain in Sweden. They're very dominant. They're premium, so they had a lot of data. Even at that time, data was more collecting data than analyzing data. It's still today, unfortunately. But how has it really changed? So when you talk to ICA today, what are their demands? What do they want? Do they more screens, more data, more intelligence? So what has changed in the past 12 years?
Yeah, I think the biggest change is definitely, the data part of it. And also ICA are doing a huge strategy where they combine in their on-site offering also with search and on their, different recipe sites, etc., to be able to gather that data and be able to be even more relevant in the actual store, as we heard before also. It's the crucial part where the point of purchase are made, and to be able to influence in-store, it's super important. So I think, long answer here, but the short answer is the data had given us even better way to be more relevant at the specific place and time.
Yeah, you want to say something, Nick?
Yeah, just add to that. I suppose with the data, what we're seeing is it's supermarkets as well, but lots of sectors are focusing on the retail media side of things. And for us, it's wherever there's a competitive marketplace of similar brands in close proximity together, that's really where it's thriving. I think the smart retailers understand this importance of like a customer-centric experience. So it's all about the retailer, the brand, and the shopper working in perfect alignment. So if the shopper's behaviour can be influenced, then sales will increase and brands will invest. And I think that's the important thing there, that you need to align all three. You need to have the retailer getting value, the brand getting value, and the shopper getting value. And that's what a true retail media network brings, I feel.
I agree. And also to add to that, what is a big shift and which will make it huge different for the industry is that we now see also that we are attracting the media spending. So not cannibalizing from the trade spending, we're getting new money from the brands and from the media agencies. Want to buy into retail media where they actually can combine the more brand building campaigns with the call to action and having a faster, effect in sales. So I think that's a different, and I think that's really interesting also. I get called, not every day, but several times a week from the brands and from the media agencies want to pour money into retail media space, especially in store. So, yeah.
Yeah, just adding to that, we see exactly the same things in the pharmacy networks, but just we found that the media agency are not really keen to spend this money, because they don't have the control of this money. They don't understand the media, actually. And it's really weird because we try to explain them that it's much more effective and that there is a better return on investment that they can show to the customers, but they don't want to understand that. So for us also, we see a shift and some approach from the media agency, but much less, I think, than in the retail normal industry. Yeah.
You're all operating screens on behalf of your clients, or you're managing them, or you're installing them, you're providing the software. So you mentioned content is important. So is it, and I remember when you started with ICA, was great photos and videos and everything was very inspiring. Is it still the mix of inspiration and information, or is it also entertainment news, or is it just sell? So where is the difference between an electronic shelf label, which is the price and product information, and larger screens? And how large do they need to be to have a big impact? You want to start?
Yeah, me, I can. Go ahead.
I think it's just all about being relevant in that customer journey, really. So let's say I'm interested in buying eco-friendly toothbrushes, then it's a classic thing if I'm on the aisle there buying eco-friendly toothbrushes is a retailer could advertise toothpaste, but actually using intelligence, a retailer can then, it might actually be a better place to sell something like other eco-friendly products from across the store. So I think it's understanding that journey of the user. They're in a buying frame of mind, so I'm interested in eco products, so therefore recommend other eco products. So I think the different arrangements of signage and placement of signage around the store, for a retail media network, it's all about informing and providing the right decisions for that impulsive buy or decision at the point of purchase.
Andy, you're different?
I think the biggest issue that we all have is we're still thinking in silos. We're talking technology, which is wrong. Technology is an enabler, or should be an enabler, that can make the customer and the guys that are standing in the store making happy. So what we think is more important, and it's different per vertical, like if you take pharmacies, it's a different approach. You have different kind of customers. We don't have really ad agencies for making advertising in the pharmacies, because it's driven by the pharmaceutical company. So you have totally different pricing, you have totally different budgets, what you can do. How do you handle the content from the pharmacy itself, if you take the pharmacy case? And what kind of content, at what time do I play that out? And at the end, it's the whole storyline. And it starts again with the typical playlist thing, which I'm not a fan of classical playlists. So what time do I spend, what time, at what target do I play out what kind of content? And this is per vertical or industry completely different. Also where I get the money from. And like you said now with the eco toothpaste thing, yes, but this is just a single content playing at one single place. Because I don't know, I don't think there's a sensor knowing, okay, I need now eco toothpaste. So the question, or for me, a perfect network would be highly data-driven content with specific screens, and then specific screens where you just simply do stupid playouts for specific products.
But is the situation not very different in a pharmacy where you have almost a one-to-one, where it's small, it's service, compared to supermarkets where you have 10,000 of people and everything is self-service?
Yeah, but at the end, it's upsell and cross-sell. That's what they want to make money somehow. And it's a story, how you build a story around it. So as pharmacy, it's completely different. Also, like we're having the issue in the pharmacy world. At the end, we have a tagline in Switzerland, at least, like as 5 seconds. It must be, okay, this is a medication, blah, 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 ask your doctor, whatever. I mean, sorry, 5 seconds, and you have like 10 seconds commercial. Whatever. So this is technical issues. But you don't have that in retail. And retail is how you target what. What do you want to sell? Do you want to sell the cheap stuff? And this is at the end a combination of everything.
But also back to the initial question, I think for us, what we see in the huge effect in is that, doing the homework, conducting a digital signage strategy, looking at the specific location, the different zones within the store, what type of content should we play at a certain time, using the first-party data, then we can be really relevant. And also, back to the question, Florian, having like the creative content, luring the people into actually having a higher observation value. That is crucial to succeed with your retail media, because advertisers and brands, they don't want to spend money on a stupid screen. It needs to be a story behind that screen. We need to be able to measure and show that we are actually looking at the screen. So.
Yeah, I think as well, retailers now know as well that they can sell that advertising space at a premium if it is relevant based on the time that the audience is interacting with it. So we're seeing campaigns with resellers where they're selling advertising at that premium rate because, let's say, it's the Euros football coming up. So the advertising messaging can change based on, during a game, they might have an advert that is, come on England, or whatever it is, come on Germany, whereas after the game it might be a slightly different advert. And because they're able to relate to the audience and the shopper, they're able to sell that at a premium. Whereas if it's just kind of traditional advertising, this is an ad slot, I'm just selling this generic ad slot. But if you actually understand the time of the day, the demographic, the audience, you can target that, and therefore the retailer can get a premium on that advertising.
And do you need sensors for that, or is the data so good?
You don't need sensors for that. You don't need sensors for things like day parting information or weather triggers, it's raining outside. You can pull all of that from open APIs. The stuff you need sensors for, if you're doing a kind of audience demographic kind of measurements and so on.
Andy, you're using a lot of sensors, right?
Yeah. Again, it's about the story, what you want to tell. And what for me is, online is telling us where we should go, technology-wise, speed, blah, blah, blah. All that what he's saying is, okay, we have demographics data, we know what kind of people we have, what time, blah, 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 this is all okay. But at the end, the question is, what do we want to do? What do we want to show? What kind of content? And we have 2 customers which are using sensors. So one is a pharmacy chain, which is super interesting, and was super surprised at what time, how many people, what age and gender are going and looking at screens. And we have another one that is doing digital out of home in supermarkets. And they really use sensors in combination with campaign management. Because at the end, it's not only yes, I have a budget of 10,000 playouts or whatever. It's at the end, how do you target what content? Also what customer, and this is the biggest issue. We all talk about, oh yes, it's great advertising like football, soccer, or whatever. But at the end, if we're having the right and proper content is targeting at the right people, then you get really high traction and you do the sales. And it's not, for me, it's not with the sensor you can define what kind of content do you play out and this is specifically target, and also making the learnings out of that. So we in our system, we record every single person is standing in front of the screen. So we have in context and outside of context. And then we do the learning, so the customer is doing the learning. Because they probably pay for, let's say, female 15 to 25, Sephora. But there you say you have 100,000 playouts or 100,000 contacts. But in addition, you see, oh, I have 800,000 contacts of men in different age ranges. And also do something with that money. But this is not us as signage system operator, it is the customer, how they can make additional money with it.
But this is, I fully understand, this is the way how media sales works today. But when we talk about retail media of the future, isn't at the end of the day the attribution, how much sales are at the end of the day, which really counts, and this is how you measure success? I mean, and maybe it's very different to pharmacies versus groceries. I mean, you have a few hundred, 200 customers maybe per day in a pharmacy. In a big supermarket, 10,000, I don't know, but I assume so, right? Something in this dimension. And so it's much easier to target in an area like a pharmacy versus a supermarket. So do you see that maybe in the future it's more about, at the end of the day, what's checkout? You know, that's the truth.
I don't know, but I want to just back the band. Yes, go back, go back, and I think we talked about before regarding trade and media spending and getting this proof in the market. I don't know if you all heard, but our CEO, Pontus Meyer, talked about yesterday also how we, back in 2009, disrupted the out-of-home market. So using that digital signage experience and knowledge that we had, we then digitized out-of-home, became market leader in Sweden and then in Scandinavia. We have done the same journey, and now taking that experience, we did it out-of-home, setting a currency, getting validation from the market, getting the spending, the budgets, etc. So now taking that, going into retail media, that is super strong because we really need to find these new budgeters because we don't want to cannibalize from existing, just shifting around, we want to attract new money. So I think that's an important part that we have together as industry.
But isn't the problem that the ad agencies that just want to say, okay, I have 1 million, give the money away, and they don't care how they play out or whatever. So the problem is money is here, content is here, do whatever you want. And it's not, the technology itself is not a playground for them. They do not understand. We see that very often. You have ideas, you could do this, 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 this. But those people that are paying money,
okay,
they don't understand that.
I think where you're coming from, and as we want to reach out to new budgets, we need to stick with the rules of the market. So I understand that. Can we maybe shift the topic briefly? You can place screens in front of the store, in the shop window, at the entrance, close to the shelf, or at the checkout. So what are the perfect places to place screens, and how big do they need to be? What is your experience? Do you place screens also in the shop window, or just at the checkout, or at the desk? Or
yeah, actually we have a concept called the Pharmacy of the Future 3.0, and we are deploying it in Bahrain now in 3 pharmacies. And the concept is very simple. You have to have 1 screen in the window shopping, 1 or 2 screens in the window shopping. This is to attract the customer from outside, and this is a special content that you put it on this screen. Then inside you have end cap screen, to promotion. We also put atmosphere screen. What is atmosphere screen? Is this stretch screen, very long, that you put just below or shelves, and you create some atmosphere. You can put some music and some very nice sounding. You don't put advertising, but you just put some nature or water flow, something like to create atmosphere. Because now in pharmacies, what we try to do is not only advertising, we try also to create some atmosphere, some customer experience. And this is very important if you want to change the way pharmacies were in the past and how it's going to be in the future. We need to make these kind of things. Then we have screen at the counter for impulse buying, and then we have screen behind the counter for medication, because as he said, we cannot advertise everything and anything in pharmacies. And we also have this interactive screen inside the shelves when the customers use it to find product. So as everyone said, you know, the pharmacies networks are very difficult. It's a niche market in terms of retail media networks, so we cannot apply what we do to other networks. But what is difficult for us can give ideas to other retailers, you know, because we are very constrained in what we can do, and so it can give some inspiration, I think.
Nick, what's your experience along the customer journey?
Yeah, so we have some interesting stats on that. So with Spar, the convenience retailer, so they've actually found in this past year of running their retail media network that in store locations where they had just one display at point of sale, their brands that advertised on there, sales increased by 7%. They then found, compared to stores with no media in, stores that had multiple points of media in along the user journey, so on aisles and in point of sale, increased the sales by 14.8%. So wow. We're finding that user journey is definitely important just to reinforce the messages they go through. And that's where I do agree that stuff like the sensors, that does have a role to play then, because you can identify a demographic coming in at the store, serve a certain ad, and then you can reinforce that again further in the store to that same customer. But the stats are saying that we're definitely seeing that it's not just a case of having it at the point of sale, it's having it along that user journey. Mm.
I mean, we're going from small to larger convenience stores to supermarkets. So, I mean, a typical supermarket has a few dozen screens, right? Or at least a dozen, 10 or more screens, right? So, what are the most effective ones? Do you have some experience there?
Yeah, but what we hear here is it's always, of course, to be with the actual purchase. Yeah. So, but it's always, you need to be relevant. So you need to be relevant type of what customers you have during the day and all of that to be able to drive the best effect. But of course, when you combine a screen with relevant content with the actual product, that has a huge impact in sales, obviously. Digital or analog, to be honest, but yeah.
Good. Now, we talk about the perfect world. Unfortunately, the world's not perfect out there. You're all running and operating networks. So, what are the day-to-day limitations you're reaching? Is it connectivity? Is it people putting merchandise in front of it and blocking the screen? So, what are the daily problems?
I don't know about these guys, but one that we're really finding at the moment is in the large supermarkets. It's the network and the bandwidth. So, supermarkets obviously don't, because everything's connected to, you've got EPOS, you've got tills, you've got everything within that store environment. They don't want to be downloading huge pieces of advertising data, and then they go and put 100 screens inside one store, and they're all downloading content at the same time. So I think the challenge is to make sure that we're balancing and throttling that kind of bandwidth impact. And also I think the supermarkets are having to find a way to open up the network, to have designated networks to provide these services as well.
Totally agree. But later today we're going to see the compass with the software. So it's for us that's not an issue since we have developed for these. So yeah, it might be a problem, but finding like the right solution, then that's not our problem. But I see it from in other markets. But also our biggest concern, I would say, is to, how to interact the online data to get that analyzing the relevance from that to be able to trigger that in the physical store as well. So I think that's a problem that is in the Nordic market to be able to actually talk around those different players. Yeah.
I think it is our problem at the end, technology-wise, because the problem is we have bad networks, shopping malls, or a lot of customers there, Wi-Fi breaking down, blah, blah, blah. The problem is if the content doesn't get to the player, it's not playing out, it is our problem. It's not, you can't blame the network at the mall. It is the problem, but if the content is not played, it's the player or the CMS is not capable to play, even if the technology is not there. So what we did is we redefined the whole technology stack that we got small files. So as an example, if you have a PNG 5 or 10 gigs, a meg, it's 100K kilobytes on the player. So this is using technology, compression technology for the whole ecosystem that you're fast facing these issues. Also about, I was super surprised we're doing cinemas in Saudi. And as I did the experience in Saudi Arabia, I thought nobody can look at the screens, because if you're going all to shopping malls, you see like no connection to players, screens not working, the daily stuff. But in the cinema, and especially in Saudi, where I was super surprised, if a screen doesn't work, they call within 2 minutes. They really stand there and seeing it and calling, hey, there's an issue. So this is really a very nice topic. It's also what kind of content you're playing back on what screen. And this is super important. I'm not a fan of putting all content on all screens. Really target the place where you're going to put it. In the cinema world, entertainment, where we're coming from, in the cinema center, we have between 50 and 150 screens per site. And then you specifically say where the people are standing. And this also, we can give them ideas, coming back with the retail media topic before, but I say it doesn't make sense to show trailers of actual running movies, because we have in Switzerland 1.8 visits per year that somebody goes. So why do I show a trailer of an actual running movie? So I'm rather going to use the space of content playing back from future movies, not actual stuff. But tell that the cinema.
But talking about connectivity, are you all using wired connection? Are you using 5G, 4G, or what is your current standard?
Wired today, yeah.
Yeah, wired. And I don't understand, because we don't have a technology issue at IDClick. Maybe it's because we're working with Scala, which is a very good software. I don't know. Our main issue for us is a cleaning lady who is taking out the plug because she has to clean the pharmacy. So yeah, I don't know.
But don't you have similar problems that the pharmacy turn off the light and then also the screens are off?
Yes, I mean, it's really funny. So, I mean, the pharmacists in Switzerland, we still close the pharmacy over lunchtime. So, and she go and because, yeah, turn off the power for the whole pharmacy. Yeah. And then turn off, and then coming back and turn on again. So, we have no issue, because our play, we don't care. But you have problems with the screen, you have problems with the switch, the cash machine, oh, it's no more working. Why? No wonder. But that's the reality. I mean, everybody talks, oh, we're great, we're working. But I think if you're building a system, you have to develop the system for daily usage and not some fancy flagship stores. Because everybody's there and looking for it.
No, I just want to say I agree that we're doing it every day technology-wise. I think the discussion needs to get broader than that when you're talking about retail media. So we need to see the actual business value of it. And I think we share common ground there, and I think more how to evolve, because as you talked about before, also for us, the entire industry, we have a huge potential here getting a fast return on investment of digital signage rollouts. So conducting a retail media strategy also, been able to get a return on investment within, I heard, 12 months, great. We can have faster as well, regarding what vertical, what type of retailer it is. So I think that's something that will benefit the entire industry.
Just quickly, something about connectivity, programmatic. Everybody talks about programmatic. Okay, so what is the issue? Programmatic, you have to do the whole bidding process if the people standing in front of the screen, not 5 minutes later, 2 minutes later. So we're having a case in UK where we're doing 120 milliseconds. So recognition, bidding, getting the content, go back, play out, is 120 milliseconds. That's great.
But we still need approval. We still need approval.
But if the network ping time is 600 milliseconds, how are you going to do that? So we already finished playing out. We don't get it because the network, the Wi-Fi networks are there. And then you have the tech guys from the retailer saying, oh, we do Wi-Fi, no problem. And then you have the retail media people saying, but we don't do programmatic. Okay.
I think it's fascinating, and I really like the last 5 minutes because everything seems so simple. Everyone seems to have a solution for everything, and everything works. And I think now in day-to-day business and retail media, it really shows that there are huge differences, and that standard softwares don't always make it in these business critical situations. So I think that's really fascinating, and you have different approaches to it. And connectivity is an issue. I mean we need to talk about it, and that's really relevant. So as we are running out of time, I really enjoyed it, and hopefully we can continue this discussion. And next year the market won't be 100 billion, but 200 billion, and hopefully we have a few more players here who are active in this one. So thanks a lot to all of you, and enjoy the rest of the conference. Thank you.
Thank you.